Welcome back to another episode of the Pickle Pulse. I am your host, Brian Green, and today we have an amazing guest all the way from sunny Florida, Miami, to be exact, I believe, Mr. Scott Van of DingK Sports. What's up, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? Everything's good?
Yeah, man, living the dream, other than I'm in Northern Virginia, DC area, where it's 30 degrees, high of 44, and we are freezing up here. I'm very jealous. How are things down in Miami?
Everything's fantastic. We just got a little bit of a cold front this couple of days ago, and so it's about 70, 72, so it's pretty cold for us.
That's amazing. Everybody's running for a sweater down there.
Yes, I was wearing my jacket. Yes.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Scott, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the World Pickleball Cup down in Lima, Peru, about a month and a half ago or so. And what an amazing event, and so cool to bump into you down there. Tell me just a little bit about your experience there.
The experience was fantastic. Cecilio and Miranda and the family, Cabrice's family, did an amazing job, hosting the event there. And I think this is their second time they did it. They did one last year, was very successful. And this year, I think it was even more successful. The production was amazing.
You got their camera angles.
You have like real deal production. I didn't expect it that, right? I don't know if you came in expecting that, but I know I didn't. And, meeting with the USA team, you got the juniors and the seniors, they did really well. I mean, the rally scoring for me, it was really cool, and it kept everything was very intriguing. It was loud and everyone was having fun. And what's really cool is they seeing all these teams, like the team from New Zealand, they did their the dance or the chant. Well, so what's it called?
I don't know what they would call it, but I just know the Aussies always bring the energy. They always have little rallying cries. It was loud everywhere they were.
Yeah. And then you got Team Puerto Rico. They were the star too. I mean, you got Peru, you have Colombia, Argentina, you got Bermuda. I mean, there's so many teams in South America, and it was amazing to see all. I think there were like 32 teams that joined.
Yeah, that's right. And I was impressed with the Indian team as well. Especially one of their male players was just unbelievable. He was, I believe he finished first or second in singles, 5-0 singles. And man, he could play. He could definitely play.
Well, a lot of people there would be amazed as can really play. And you got team from China, Taipei, China, that came across, the other side of the world coming over and play. I mean, that's how big it gotten. And it was great to see the youth that you were coaching them and the seniors, and it was fantastic. I love the event. I'm going to probably be there again. And also DingK Sports had a little part of it. We were happy to be part of, the Pickleball World Cup of 2024, and we were able to provide, the kids of Peru, junior size paddle. So we manufacture, we manufacture 100 of them. So you can see right here. This is what I did.
It's so cool.
Yeah, so you can see, this is what we presented to them, and the kids loved it, and it was a little souvenir for them, and some of them play with it and everything else like that, and it was fantastic. I love to be a part of that, and just giving back to the community and to the Peruvians. They appreciate it, and I was honored. That was my favorite part was, able to make these paddles for them and give it to them, and their smile just lit up,
Absolutely. Well, and continuing to grow pickleball in a country. And I mean, Peru already had some fantastic players on their team. And to see the youngins coming up, I mean, that's what we all want, is to continue to grow the sport. So love it. And thank you for doing that.
No problem. We're going to be back there next year. And it's going to be great. It's going to be bigger and better.
Yeah, I believe it.
Feel it.
Yeah, I absolutely believe it.
And hopefully I'll talk to Steve Rose. Hey, Steve, coach, put me in.
Yeah.
This guy's a senior now.
So
I'm eligible.
and I'll go ahead and throw it out to the world. Steve's going to love me for this, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be the head honcho again next year for Team USA. So hit him up on Facebook if you want part of that senior pro or that junior team, because it was so much fun playing on, and
Yes, sir.
just the people you get to meet, the experience was phenomenal.
It was, no doubt. Hats off to the Caprices and Pickleball World Cup, and yeah, 2025 is going to be pretty good for them. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I wanted to start this off really by just finding out a little bit more about your story. On your website, you have just a brief little synopsis of how your family got to the US, how their entrepreneurial spirit like built you guys' family and helped
mhm.
you to get down to Florida and in Pennsylvania. I think you said there were some businesses there. And the long story short is just tell us a little bit about your family and how they got from Vietnam to the US, and then how it came to DingK Sports and you found pickleball, etc.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Yeah. It's a long story, but I'll make it short.
Okay.
A brief, not short, but brief. So the communists have taken over 1970s since South Vietnam, Saigon, the fall of Saigon, and a lot of the Vietnamese were left behind. The South Vietnamese were left behind, and my dad was one of them. He was in the army, and he escaped that, and it was my mom and dad. They decided they have a bigger vision. They saw what was going with the communists and stuff like that. It's like my dad's like, this is not the place for us. I want the American dream. I want the
Mm-hmm.
freedom. And so he was a jeweler. He had money, he had gold, and he was a jeweler. And he was able to gather his finance and everything. And then our first trip tried to escape the Vietnamese, the communist regime, and it didn't work out. So what happened was we went on the boat, and then we got busted. And then at that time, I was like 5 years old.
Oh
My
my
sister
gosh.
was like 4. My brother at the time, he was like 2, and then my mom was pregnant with the fourth. So it was so then my mom's like, I can't run. We were on the boat and everything, getting ready to ship out, and then we got busted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, and then so me and my dad, he's like, my mom's like, take Scott, go. And so my dad took me, and we head off, and we spent a night in the cemetery. We crossed the border and everything else like that. Had to go back to Saigon, and my mom and my brother and my sister, they got caught by the police, and they got put in jail for a year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, while she was pregnant, and she gave birth, at the hospital, but when she was actually in prison for
Wow.
trying to escape. Yeah, so it's a horror deal on that. And then a year later, what's amazing, a year later, she got out, and then and then the crazy thing is, my dad's like, "You want to try this second time?" I was like, after that experience, I can't believe my mom said, yes, let's do it. And so 6 months from that, she recovered everything, and they did it again. And then we landed in Indonesia. So
Okay.
that's where we were vetted, and that's where we were. Refugee camp was over there. And then happens that my dad got contact with my uncle that was already over here, and we got sponsored by him. And then we came over here in 1980. Actually, yeah, 1980, December of 1980, a week before Christmas.
Wow.
And yeah, we landed in Philadelphia, and then we got sponsored by the church and everything else, and it was great. They helped us, get situated and process, and we were immigrants, and we worked, and my mom and dad, they worked really hard, 2 jobs, raised. Now this time we have a newborn, right? My
Mm-hmm.
baby sister, that was, my mom gave birth during when she was in prison, and so we were all over here, and we grew up over here when we were a kid, and America's our home. This is the land of the free, and
Wow.
we
Scott, you could make a movie on that, I'm sure.
I could one day if I have the finances. But yeah, it's really cool. And you know, my parents worked really hard, and they taught me the etiquette of like working, you know, respecting people and everything else like that. Education was very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
In my family, we have you know, 3 doctors in the family.
Wow.
Yep, my brother's a businessman himself, and myself, my dad and mom were entrepreneur by, you know, that's them, that's their nature, and they taught that to me. And I grew up, you know, always looking for my own business, always doing something
Mm-hmm.
for myself. And so I have experience. And then, you know, we came to Philly, and then my sister Sarah, you know, Sarah Pham.
Yes.
That's how we
It's
got to
amazing.
Florida. She was a prodigy tennis player when she was like 10, and then she went to the IMG Academy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She went over there in Bradenton, and she was there for a couple years, and then that's how they from Philly to the Bradenton area, and that's how
Oh,
we
so
got to
it
Florida.
was actually tennis that brought you guys down more so than
Yes,
business. That's
exactly.
amazing.
And then she was there, and then my parents, and then a couple years later, my parents moved to the Keys, and that's where they're like, I was a newlywed at the time, so my dad's like, "When you come down?" I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, let me come down," and checked out the scene, and I loved it, and that's how I got here to Florida. And then my buddy Jesse Marshall, he's the one that turned me to pickleball. He's like, "You ever heard of pickleball?" I was like,
So,
"What is
so
that?"
what year was this, Scott, that you
This
were
was
introduced?
2016.
Okay, so you were way early compared to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
masses.
Yes, and it was so much fun. I was like, I was really not, my dad was a tennis player, my sister was a tennis, Sarah Fan was a tennis player, but me, I grew up playing hockey and football and basketball.
Okay.
That was my love.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my dad always tried to get me to play tennis, but I'm like, ah, I like team sport. But you know, when I pick up the paddle for the first time, I play, and it didn't feel like tennis to me because it's not singles, right? So it was double. So I feel like I'm a team guy, so I like playing with a partner. And the strategy, the shots, you know, it's not just bang, bang, bang. It was like dinking, dropping, getting there, executing, you know,
Oh
and
yeah,
putting the ball away. That got me, and that sold me, you know what I mean?
I
And then
love it.
from there, I played. You know, we all start at the low level and work our way up. And then about 2017, 2018, that's when my one of my buddy was saying, "Do you know one of these balls is like 20 cents to make, and they're selling it for like 350?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's a great markup. I said,
Oh
let me do
yeah.
research. So, and that's how I kind of stumble on to the pickleball. It's like, maybe I can make the ball's easy enough. It's just it's made out of PE, which is plastic. And let me do a little research. And then I fell into the rabbit hole. And then I start dissecting out the paddles and stuff like that, just out of curiosity, cut it in
Mhm.
half. At the time, you know, Selkirk, Paddletech, Franklin were in, and also Engage. But you know, I took my 3 favorite paddles, and I kind of broke them apart and see what it was. And and then I was like, huh, let me see if I can do this. And then I didn't really like any really the paddle. The only paddle that I really liked was Invicta from
Okay.
Selkirk,
Yep.
and that's how I model a lot of my paddles elongated because
Yeah.
of that reason, right?
Absolutely.
Try to
Absolutely.
emulate
Well,
that.
it's interesting, and I'm probably jumping a little ahead of where I wanted to be, but it just popped in my head, and I'm intrigued to hear your take on this. And that is when you talked about the markup of the ball, and then when we get into the paddle side of things, um, a lot of people, I have to imagine, think that the paddle manufacturers are making a ton of money off the high end paddles that the pros are looking at, that the pickle geeks like me are buying the 150, the 200, the $300 paddles now. I have to imagine it's the opposite. And the companies that do the best are the ones that produce paddles for the masses. Would you say that that's a true thought or true feeling, that the $100 or less market is far greater than the high end paddles?
Yeah, I believe so. You know, and also that go into that, I'm also making a paddle for 2025 $100 range paddle.
Oh,
A
nice.
little less than $100 because it is catering to the masters now that more people are coming in, new novice players, new beginners and novice players are coming in. There's much more people than that. These type of paddle, the one that you're hanging up on the walls, this one is 225. You know, and we are premium paddle manufacturers, but we also want to cater to the to the mass audience too, in 2025, and the quality is still there, but
Yep.
we're just willing to take the cut of the profit margin, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's
Well,
how we do
and
it.
the interesting thing is that the guys, the 5.0s, the 4.5s, the serious pickle geeks out there probably only represent like 3% of the pickle population, I would say, 3 to 5.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, but I'm 100% with you in that I prefer an elongated or a hybrid shape. I have tried to play with traditional paddles, like 11.624. Dave Greschel made a jelly bean and a monarch, and I tried those, and they're great paddles. But I feel like I'm missing something without that extra inch. Uh,
Right, exactly. It's reach. I'm only 5'6", so I need all the help I can get,
okay.
especially
Yeah.
on the things, reach, or they lobbing me, they
Mhm.
always lobbing me all the time. So I need that extra step in. Good thing I got a little bit of a vertical, but other than that, I'll be in trouble. But yeah, that extra inch or even millimeter, it's could be in or out. Even a miss hit could be a solid. And from creating multiple different paddles, I started out with the Pro Series, which was very basic. So which one is that? This is the one right there. You can see
Yep.
I'm pointing right there.
Okay.
That's my first series that I did was the Pro Series right there. Carbon fiber, polycore, standard 16 and a half by 7.5,
Yep.
and
Classic shape.
with a 4 inch, yep, with a 5.5 handle, length and handle, and 4 circumference
Yeah.
in grip.
So stop right there for me, Scott, because like that was something I wanted to bring up to you. Is most of the paddles that I have played with this year are 4.25 to 4.5 inch circumference of the grip. I got yours in at 4, and I must say that it feels amazing. I like the smaller handles, and I don't understand why more manufacturers don't offer a smaller handle.
Right. When I first started playing pickleball in 2016, Engage, Selkirk, Franklin, Paddletech, they all have this kind of like a square-like shape, and it was very uncomfortable. And when I said I want to make my own paddle, that's the other reason why, was the comfort of the grip and the handle. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's got to fit nice in your palm before you even want to swing at it. If it
For sure.
doesn't feel good in your palm, I was like, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to try it.
Absolutely.
And that's why I went to a smaller handle. I before it was 4.25.
Okay.
However, some of the ladies are like, a little bit too big. So then I cut down to a 4, and then I also created my own overgrips. I hope
Mm-hmm.
I send you some overgrips. You should have got an overgrip.
Oh, I didn't get any, but I'll
Oh,
talk to
you
you
did? All
because I'd
right.
love to get some.
You should have gotten it. I guess my manager forgot or something, but
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. Um, Oh no, that's right. You ordered it
Yep.
on online. That's right. I was supposed to place the order for you, and then I was going to get you that. That's probably why it
There
was
we go.
on the ticket. That's why they didn't give to you. But sorry to sidetrack there. But however, it's always easier to build up the width, the girth of it
For
versus
sure.
taking it off. You can't take it once I build it. You can't take it off. So, but you always use the overgrip to overlap that, and you get a nice little cushion overgrip if you want a little bit bigger.
Well,
But
that,
it's
that was my
basically
thought exactly, and that you nailed it. Is like you can always take over grips and make it bigger if you're the person who prefers that, but you can't
yeah,
make it smaller. And just,
exactly.
I love that you started at 4 because it does give you the opportunity to put an overgrip or two on there if you want to.
Right, exactly. And a lot of the ladies like that, and I want to cater to the female players also. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Well, Scott, these are a little bit too big." So I was like, "Okay." So then I went with the 4, and we've been pretty successful, and everybody loved the grip. So we stuck with that on all our paddles, and we made it a little bit longer. We cut down the neck. We narrowed the neck of the paddle where it's coming in
Mm-hmm.
higher, so that way you can choke up for two-hand backhand and still feel a lot of comfort on that. So that's what we did. So we started at 14 millimeter a core, and then we saw that people, a lot more thinking, a lot more touch, and more control. So I went with a 16 millimeter core.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then with the faces on top, and then plus the the rim guard, you measure them outside 19 millimeters. So it's a true 16 millimeter core.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm gonna go play tonight. Excited to try it out. I have unfortunately not got to hit the DingK paddle yet, but I've encountered many guys like Robert Bixler and Austin Laddick here in the DC area that are ambassadors of yours, and they've been
Yes.
playing with the paddles for years and just say that they are top quality, very well made. The thing that I appreciate is I have never heard of a DingK paddle delaminating. I'm sure one has, but you don't hear about it often. And that's something that's been driving me crazy recently because I play in a 5-0 group, and I would say there are 2 or 3 guys that are playing with a delaminated paddle on a regular basis.
Right.
And just think they're getting away with it when we all know it's a hot paddle. It's a cheater paddle.
Right.
And it just shouldn't happen. Paddles, I get they're not going to last forever, but they should last for 6 months to a year if you're playing here.
Yes, I totally agree with you, but it's also not just the manufacturer's issue. It's the manufacturing do everything right with the adhesive. It's what it to keep this together is all adhesive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is a lot of people leave their paddles in the car.
Okay.
So then you got the sun in there, it's like baking the oven. And so when it's heated up, what happens, the residue of the adhesive is running and it's not where it's supposed to be. So then therefore you will get some delamination because of that factor, because certain areas is going to be loose. And then after time,
Mm-hmm.
you we hit the ball hard, especially at the 5-0 level, 4-5 level. We're smashing the ball hard, and we're playing for like 3 to 4 hours long. So
Mm-hmm.
just imagine you do that for 3 to 4 months times that. So what happened is the adhesive crystallizes it, right? So
Okay.
then what happened? It cracks, it breaks. And that's what's causing the delaminations of the paddles and stuff. It's not really just the manufacturer, it's both.
Yep.
They do a great job, but as a user or a player, you have to take good care of it. Bring it inside, keep it at room temperature, not having it at 100 degrees, or especially in the summertime, they forget, they leave it in there, they put it in the bag, and it's an oven.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why. And we always have our paddle upright or down like this. So
Uh-huh.
when the adhesive, it's going to drip, and all that it's going to be right
Uh,
here, and all this is supposed to be here. It's no longer here, it's down here. So that's what's causing the delamination also.
I like it. I mean, if I were thoughtful, I would have put 2 and 2 together there. But I get you got to take care of your stuff. You can't just
Yeah,
let it bake in a car
right.
and and
It's,
expect
it's
it to
just
be
like
the same.
anything, like you leave your stuff out in the element, right? And then we'll have deterioration, have corrosions and stuff like that. And then that's where cars, boat, tires, that's why you have sun blockers for your dashboard. If you leave
Mm-hmm.
it out in an element, guess what? Over time, it will break down, and you see cracks on the leather and all that stuff. It's just deterioration.
Yeah, the sun is real for sure.
Yeah, no joke. Especially with heat. That's even worse.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I kind of to segue into this next section, and that is 2024 for a paddle manufacturer, for a paddle company, was, I think at best maybe a shit show, in that there were big companies like Eula having paddles released and then delisted, and people getting refunds back. Rhombus Ripple has tried to come out multiple times, and I've played against that paddle. Thank God it hasn't come out, because it's a cannon with more spin than I've ever encountered. And if that is where paddles are going, everyone's going to have to play with something like that in order to keep
Right.
up, and
Right.
it'll change the game completely. But what was it like for you as a manufacturer, um, trying to figure out what to do next, where to produce a paddle? There's just so many ways and directions to go,
Elements.
right?
There's so
Yeah.
many ways. I struggle with it all the time, and people will say, "Scott, are you going to make this? Are you going to come with something similar? Are you going to do this?" I get that all the time, and I
Hmm.
tell them, say, "Listen, I speak to Carl Schmidt. He's one of the engineer for the USAP. Okay, And I ask him questions and stuff, and he gives me, solid. We text back and forth, and he's a good friend of mine too. And but the thing is, once the Gen 3 that came out, and also the power paddle from Gearbox came out, and people were using it, and they're firing cannons. It's like
Hmm.
rockets coming at you, and I don't think that's fair. The paddle should not produce that much power where it's become a weapon, and it's not fair to some people, right? But that's for the USAP for them to regulate. Uh, but it's out there, and I'm glad that they did kind of, in a way, delist it a little bit, because now they're taking a look at it. So basically, it's almost like the Gen 3. I look at it as almost like a floating core they have. And
Hmm.
it's like almost like a delamination, which 22 and 23 was the big thing. You know,
Correct.
the carbon is like delamination, all that stuff. And, people saw how it was shooting out. So you were talking earlier about delamination. It's like it's coming out the exact same way, but this is like legal in a way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yes, I see that it's going towards more power because more tennis players coming in, they want to rip it and everything else like that. But they USAP have seen this, and they are regulating this. So
Hmm.
they have told us they are going to look for deflection tests now in 2025. They also see that a lot, like the Rhombus and all that stuff, the Ruby, and have such a high rate RPMs in the 2200 range. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely
You know what I
moved.
mean?
Proton was like 2,500, I think, when they came.
Right. And they are regulating that in 2025. They haven't come out that I know of. They haven't come out and telling us exactly what the specs is going to be. So I'm kind of holding off on a lot of things right now. We have
Hmm.
the Hyper Pro. The Hyper Pro is good. People are happy. Got enough spin. We have like it's 1800 RPMs
Okay.
on it. It's good enough. You don't need. I don't think you need any more than that. It gives you a great top spin if you hit with a proper technique, and with a follow through and properly, you should get a nice top spin on your drives. But yeah, as you said, people ask me all the time, and I said, um, I I will see what will happen, especially when it's a hot topic. Like
Hmm.
Gen 3 was the big deal in 2024, and everybody was going crazy on it. And also the gearbox power. Yeah, they let it through, but now they see that people are getting injured, getting hit in the eye, get hit in the face. People are getting injured with these paddles. So now USAP have seen that, and a lot of complaints. So I think they're regulating it in 2025.
Yeah, that is my hope, that some definitive guidelines will come out, and then all the manufacturers can do their take on it, but keep it legal. Whereas I played against a guy, Scott, I would say 3 weeks ago or so, that I beat up on pretty good usually.
Hmm.
He's a 4.2, maybe a 4.5. Uh,
Hmm.
he was playing with a paddle that clearly something had happened to, and the paddle was hitting 3 times harder than it should have. And it took his level, because he was an ex tennis player who
Hmm.
had proper form, and added a point 0.5 to it. He was a legit 5.0 that day
Right.
because of the way that that paddle worked. And I don't think that the paddle should enhance your abilities that much. And
I totally agree with you. I
yeah.
totally 100% agree with you. Um, but yeah, that's why people are looking at. They're buying these paddles to look for that edge.
Hmm.
I believe that the players should be able to generate their own power, their own speed. That's what makes the difference of a solid, good players and an average player. If that you're
Absolutely.
able to generate that yourself. But if you have it's like a cheat code, right?
Hmm.
So so it's basically when you have like a paddle that's too much power and that's coming off like a rocket. I mean, that's all they're gonna do. It's gonna be a power player,
Yeah.
you know.
So
But there are pros and cons to all that. Too much power, too much pop that's coming off the paddle, less control. You know that, and and all you got to do is just what you do, just drive the ball right back at them. They're gonna pop up the ball and smash it.
that's
That's what I
it.
do when I see somebody have a Gen 3 or the new mod or that power paddle. I'm gonna drive that ball right at them, right at their chest. They're gonna block it, and that thing's gonna sky. And that's how I counter it, right? And
Hmm.
that's always pros and cons. Get them into the dink, they're gonna pop it up.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. Unless
Drop
they're a
it, get into the
5.5 or a
thing.
6.0 plus, and then they've figured out how to harness that energy in a
Yeah.
way to really use it. But I
Yes.
would agree with you that most 4.0s with a power paddle, you can exploit the flaws of that power against them.
Yes, exactly. You're totally 100%. But as the higher level player, they train with it, they feel it, they can have the touch. So then
Yep.
it's going to be very hard.
And like
Very
I
hard.
mean, you saw at the World Cup, there were mods everywhere down there, and you see it
Yes.
at almost every tournament. And
Right.
that paddle, you can love it or hate it. I personally hate it, and I think it's too hot. And Gearbox, I don't know. Does this tweak you as a manufacturer? And that they seem to have gotten a pass in this whole thing, where they make a cannon that stays legal. Has been talked about how is this legal, and yet USAP, UPAA really don't even look at them or talk about it. I
Well,
mean,
they already because they were kind of under the radar a little bit because of the with the EULA Gen 3, they were
mm-hmm.
the star of the show. And but they already addressed it already. So 2025, in 2025, they're gonna retest all the paddle that was already previously tested.
Oh wow, okay.
And yeah, so
So
they're gonna retest
there's
everything again and then they reapprove it.
so there's a possibility of the year starting out with a bunch of paddles being delisted.
Yes.
It's gonna be
Possibility right there. Yep, exactly. So that's why I'm holding off on everything.
yeah, that's smart.
But however, if the industry is going that way, you're damn right that I'm gonna have my power paddle also too. I'm not gonna be left behind. I'm like, hey, if it's legal, I'm gonna put it in regular, make it into regulation, and the power of my paddle is going to be as power as yours, and then all hats are off, right? So that's what I will make a power paddle if they legalize. If that's the way we're going with the
Yeah.
future of pickleball, it's power game, then I have to move along with the industry.
Well,
If
and
not,
that's
I'll be left
that's
behind.
that's where I'm in the same boat, Scott, and it's not what I want. And if I could choose my destiny, I wouldn't choose for the power to be where those paddles are. But if it's legal, you got to learn them. Otherwise, you're at a complete disadvantage immediately.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like I'm working on a couple new paddles and stuff like that, just testing them out. I have my good friend Mircha.
Mm-hmm.
He's testing it out for me and stuff like that. I got a couple other pros that I'm good friends with, and my ambassadors are testing out the paddles and stuff before we even go into production or even put it for testing.
Okay.
First, I have to go through it and hit it, and if I like it, then I pawn it off to Mircha or Eric Gannon, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to test it out, and then they give me feedbacks, and then that's how we do our protocol. That's how I do my testing with my paddles. First, it goes through me. If I like it, then it goes through the next pro and everybody else. Give me the consensus, and then make little change modification here and there, and to come out with a very well made, high quality paddle where you're going to get the best benefit of both worlds, the dinking, the soft game, the control. As my slogan, power, precision, performance. Those are the three things I live by with my paddles. It's written on there. It's written on my website. And that's what I believe the game. Power, precision, and performance. You got to have control. You got to have the power, and you got to be precise on your shots. That's
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to win the game. That's pickleball.
That
It's
is.
not
Matter
just
of fact,
power.
when I was speaking of Steve Rose, I know you mentioned his name earlier. Legendary senior pro player, great friend, great guy all around.
No, great. I got a pleasure of playing with him 3 weeks ago up in
Okay.
Del Rey.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
him and
That's
Iggy.
his home
Yep.
turf.
Yes.
Yes. So I was playing with him down at the World Cup, and I was putting some balls away and just slapping them really hard, and they were going out a little bit here and there, and he just looks at me, he goes, Brian, just pick a spot and hit a spot, and the precision part, I guess, is what tuned me into that, and that pickleball really is. Yes, you want to put it there with some pace, but it's more so about putting it where you want to put it to put them off balance. And
Yes, exactly.
it was a gentle reminder and a good coaching call on his part.
Yeah, definitely. He's a great player. I'm very fortunate to be able to play with him, and I live in South Florida, so I can see him,
Mm-hmm.
um, on a regular basis and stuff, and play with him. But yeah, pickleball, I think that's where I think Zane has mentioned on his podcast or one of his feed on posts
Mm-hmm.
that he thinks that I don't want to misquote him or anything, is that he likes to dial down the paddle a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and that was actually my next question. One that he asked a lot is, which do you think is more important, spin or power, when it comes to the paddle?
I think power is more
Mhm.
important,
Okay.
than spin. People can put spin. You can generate spin on anything. It's just your proper form, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the rate won't be as great as 2,500 RPMs. Will be
Yeah.
more like 1,600, 1,500 around that, with your
Mm-hmm.
standard paddle face, you know what I mean? That's legal. But there's a lot of paddles out there that the texture, when I feel it, I'm like, how is this legal?
Oh, I've had so many paddles come through the studio here where I get it and go, whoa. And I mean, the first Gen 3 Eulas you can hang on your shirt. You saw everybody
Yeah.
doing that. And it's like, this is clearly not legal grit if they were testing it. It was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. And with my company, DingK Sports, I make sure that our specs are within regulation.
Yep. Yep.
That's from whatever's there's that's what we're making it, and that's going to be the to be out in the market.
Mm-hmm.
You have to follow regulations because it's trust. I understand that a lot of the companies are out there that's trying to get an edge, and for people, the first thing when you hand somebody a new paddle, what did he do?
They feel it. Yep.
They're like, they want to scratch it, like it's like, oh, this is good. Yeah, then they'll hit it. They won't even hit the paddle unless you have some type of texture. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Yeah, because everybody's just thinking, oh, I want more spin or more power. Yeah, you gotta spin does help you a lot, but it's not everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I guess where I was going with it too is I think that it would be interesting, and so does Zane, stealing his thunder a little bit, but just to let the rates of spin kind of rise to a certain degree, but rein the power in and create more of a table tennis, a lot of dipping, hard angles and shots, and having feel become a big part of the game. More so than just being able to plow through guys and drive and crash. Although I do love that aspect of the game too. So I'm kind of all over the place, Scott. I love
No
pickleball. I
worries. I
just
mean,
don't
that's
want
what's
it.
great. See, that's the one. Another thing is that's what's great about pickleball is a chess game.
Hmm.
It's like I tell people, there's so many different layers to this onion. Just when you thought you figured it out, it's like, darn, somebody else just taught me a lesson. You know what I mean? There's another layer to this. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've been playing for a long time, since 2016, and I'm still learning today because the game has evolved. Kids are playing now. Now they're hitting quicker, harder, faster, more athletic ability. They can jump, they can Ernie left and right. I mean, I seen a kid like on I think some type of social media where the guy dropped the ball almost halfway of the court and he's still able to jump. He was really tall. Jump up,
Hmm.
jump cross court, hitting a winner, Ernie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Can't even drop to his corner. You drop to his corner, he's going to kill it every time. So where are you going to drop? You got to drop it dead center, right? So, I mean, it's crazy. The game is just grown, and I'm glad to be part of it and just playing and learning. And it's going to be spectacular. 2025 is going to be amazing. DingK Sports is stepping up to another level by going global.
That's awesome.
That's why I've been in South America all 2024, was to get Colombia, Peru, Ecuador,
Hmm.
Mexico City, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile,
Yes.
you
Have
know,
you met my friend
and I just
Raul?
got Brazil.
So I'll have to introduce you to Raul Barrios. He is the man behind Pickleball Bolivia. He's a local guy out of Northern Virginia who is from Bolivia and
Oh, right.
he's got his own club down there and is founding lots of stuff there. So yeah, you guys should connect on that. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. If you can connect me that would be fantastic. Yeah. So That's where I want to go global in South America, and also a big market is India, also South Africa. I
Yep.
got my paddles in South Africa also. So
Sweet.
and also I know Hamal from Global Sports. You know who he is, right?
No, and actually I
Yeah,
don't.
he's a big time. Shout out to Hamal from
Okay.
Global Sports. He's been branding his product and his clubs, and he making a big impact over in India, and
That's
he's a
awesome.
major player. And we became friends. We met at the U.S. Open. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it was funny. He reached out to me, and then 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, you're coming to the U.S. Open? Yeah, let's meet up. And it's been great. So he's going to help us get DingK Sports into the Indian market over there in Asia. I mean, it's blowing up everywhere.
It really is.
Asia, from China to Taiwan to Vietnam, Philippines, India, it's just exploding. Pickleball just everywhere. And South Africa too, Europe, Spain, it's all over the world. It's
Well, and
all
that feeds like an interesting question is like 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I don't think three, I think by five, but 5 years down the road, is the best pickleball player in the world going to be an American?
uh,
And
I mean, I would love to say yes, but you never know.
I mean, well, because you know that the Asian countries and their paddle sport backgrounds, I mean, they are just
Yeah.
fanatical about
Well,
paddle
they're
sports.
badminton players and they can jump. Well, actually, that's a funny thing. Now I look at it. I saw this clip on YouTube, right, of these four Chinese guys playing pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting like 46-inch vertical and they're slamming the ball down hard.
Well, I saw
And the
the
way they played, they
badminton.
were like jacking and like they were jumping jacks, like literally like hitting the ball like got to be at least 70 miles an hour and
Oh,
right at
wow.
each other. I'm telling you, like you have never, I wish I saved that clip, show to people. It's amazing. I have never seen pickleball play that way ever.
Well, if you find it, send it to me and I'll add
I
it in right
will. And
here.
you'll see, you're like, what?
Yeah,
What?
because
I
I
was like,
saw
what?
there was a badminton player recently that was shown who does this sick. He does a jumping like backwards flick to put away in the kitchen. It was like an overhead backwards flick that he must have hit 50 miles an hour perfectly into the kitchen. I mean, it's not a shot that people hit right now.
No.
And that's the other cool thing about pickleball, in that it's not tennis, and that we don't really know what is possible yet. I don't think we've seen all of it.
No, we have not. And I've seen like this year, I got a chance to play with Will Howell, up in Boca area, and he just reached out and he does the backhand flick and it goes
Mm-hmm.
cross court in the kitchen, cross court. How are you going to get that? You're already down the baseline, you're hitting and you're drops and you're trying to reset and it's a little high. He just reach and he just flick
Mm-hmm.
and he's just going to, I mean, it's the game is like a chess game, placement, placing the ball, you need everything. That's why I have power, position, performance. That's my thing. You need to have all three of those to be a very successful pickleball player, in my
Agreed.
eyes.
Agreed. I agree with you 100%. Well, I'll close it out with this last question, and I'm not even going to lead you, but the UPAA came out at the end of the year. They've formed their own organization for the PPA Tour, for the players out there. And they also came out saying that they were going to certify the paddles going through that. And that was what the organization is for. But then they closed it with the certification numbers are going to be astronomical versus what a USAPA certification would be. Um, how do you personally feel about that? How does that affect your business? How does that affect the companies that are trying to be the players like Selkirk's, the Yolas, the people that can afford that? And is that what we
Right.
want? 3 or 4 top guys who can only be in the pro game? No.
Right. So yeah, I felt that it was unfair. It's not right for the lower, I would say the mom and pops, beginning, into the industry and stuff like it. It's just not fair.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate to get into the game at an earlier stage in 2018. So it didn't have the UPA. It only had the USAP. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And at that time, to get a paddle test, it was like $900.
Okay.
And if you
That's
fail,
fair.
you get a retest was $500. And I thought that was fair. And but the USAP, it's a nonprofit organization for 40 years. So I like them, and they hold to the ground. And just recently, they changed their, and then like last year, they in 2023 they changed it to $1,500 for testing and $1,000 for retesting, right?
Yep.
So they upped it. And then once the UPA came out and said, we're going to charge $5,000 and $100,000 if you want your players to represent your paddle into the game and get them televised, right? So
That's right.
I didn't like that with the UPA. So then that opened up the door for the USAP to say, okay, we're going to raise off our testing price to $3,500. So now it's just getting a little out of hand. And I say, wait, guys, it's like it's the same thing you guys have been doing for all these years. I understand you want to, they probably have thousands of test paddles coming in weekly or monthly just to get a new paddle tested. And I understand they want to marginalize the industry a little bit. Right now, we have over 900 manufacturers that want to come in to
Wow.
pickleball because pickleball is hot.
Yeah.
Everybody want to get a piece of the pie, right? But so this is, this is causing the prices to go up, everything else. And now, if you want to be like a small company that wants to get in, now the door is slowly closing shut.
Yep.
It's too much, too expensive to get through.
Well, and the way that they've done this too is I'm not quite sure, but I'll paint a picture for you and let's see how you think this might play out. But let's say that my friend James Broker of 11, he plays for 11-6-24. He's been playing PPA qualifiers. He qualifies for the main draw and he has a great weekend and makes it a run to the round of 32, which is where they start testing paddles. And then the UPAA, I assume you'll have to be playing with a paddle that they have approved at that point. Now, are they going to take away the paddle that he's been winning with and say, you can't play? And now you have to play with a Yola or a Selkirk or the 1-3 companies that actually paid to play?
Yep.
That is going to piss a lot of people off. And especially the guys like me who love pickleball. And in my opinion, the best paddles that are being manufactured right now are not by the big three companies.
No, you're 100%. I'm right there with you. It's going to stir. It's already caused controversial when it came out the first time, just thinking of that. But they retract their statement and stuff like that. So I don't know what's really going to happen. Okay. So, but it was out there and they had a backlash on that. And so they kind of like pulled back a little bit. So, they still saying the testing they want to be the new sanction body for their own league basically, and I feel like they want to monopolize the industry, a lot, and a lot of people do feel that way. I'll be very frank, and I understand it's a business for them, but I just don't feel. I think they would be like the only organization it's doing this in the whole world of all the sports. I never heard of any organization say, "Hey," or tennis and say, "Hey, you can't use ABC racket because it's not sanctioned by us." I never heard that. You should be able to play with anything you want, and if you play well with it and you're going all the way through, why are you stopping? And now you're altering and changing the person's game. You know how it is. It's very sensitive when you are so used to a certain paddle and you switch off to another paddle. It's a whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
You can be a 6'5", you use a different paddle, you'd be like a 5'0". It's a whole different ball game. You touch, you feel, your timing, everything is off. And to do that is unjust to the players, to be honest. And it's going to be harder for the players, the upcoming players, the growing players, the next generation to get sponsored.
For sure.
How many guys is Eula going to sponsor? How many Franklin are they going to sponsor? How many Paddle Tech are they going to sponsor? over time, they can't sponsor the whole world. They'll go broke.
No, no, they
There's no
can't.
way. So then it limits other opportunities for upcoming growing players. And I just feel that it's not fair. And I think us players should come together and say, no, you should not be able to do that. You stick to PPA, stick to your production. You have a great production, you have a great market. You are very successful. You're capturing all the top 50 players in the world, and you're getting the best players in the world, and your pickleball TV is outstanding. Stick with that.
That's right.
Leave the sanction body to the USAP, which they've been the organization. It's a nonprofit organization for 40 years. They've been doing a great job, and just, and they're being recognized all over the world. It's not, and a UPA, you just came out and you start, demanding and stipulation like that. I just don't feel it's right. And just for that, just for the player perspective, not even a manufacturer aspect. I haven't even talked about that. I'm talking about the player. It's like me. I'm going to be a senior pro this January. I'm eligible now. I'm playing it. But just imagine the APP goes in that route, and the PPA. Now I'm playing with my paddle, my brand. Now I'm going to have to use a EULA to play. That's not right. And then that changed my game. I was like,
no way.
Just as a player alone, not just a manufacturer, that would, really make my blood boil. And just on that topic alone, you know what I mean? Just that.
Yeah. Well, it is my hope that that situation pops up, just to create that, because as probably as well as I do, it's something has to give or happen in order for people to come together and be upset about it. And preemptively strike is tough.
Right. You can't allow these organizations just demanding and just say this because they got the 50 top players. The pros got to stick together and say, yo, I don't feel that's right. They got to speak out, and especially the top players, the top 10, the top 20. You know what I mean? Like these other players that's coming in, and they're on the verge, they're on the edge, but they don't have the EULA, the Franklin, the Paddle Tech, or Engage to have millions of dollars to put for these big, like the EULA and the Selkirk. They're the two companies that are leading, right, in the industry. And then you got Franklin, you got Paddle Tech, and also you got Engage. They can afford maybe giving $100,000 to PPA or the UPA new sanction to have their paddles represented in the game. But guys like me, like, how much will it take for me to sell just to break even, and then manufacturing that? It's just way too much.
Huge number. Yeah, it's a huge number.
It's just
undoable.
crazy.
Yeah,
it's like, and just that, as we all know, even top players, they don't sell the paddles.
Yeah, that's right. I would say if you have top ambassadors, they are just as good as the top player, unless your name is Ben Johns or Annalie Waters, and then all of a sudden,
right? Well, they're they're like top 2 in the world, so
that's
right.
What I mean?
Yeah. So they can, they have a lot of influences on that. But like you say, like, it's just the player perspective. They got to come together and say, hey, I want to get sponsored by ABC. And they're going to give me a little bit of money to play with that paddle, and I like that paddle, and I want to represent them, but I can't do it because of this. Now they have no leverage. They're like, okay, you're playing the PPA. However, if you get far, it doesn't do me any good because you can't use my paddle.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
So how can I pay you? How can I justify to pay you $10,000 for the year, or $15,000, or even pay your entry fee to go into the game, and then you're not representing when it's televised? That's the whole idea, is to get your brand on TV and televised and get the other audience to go. But now you can't do that because of that reason.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think 2025 is going to be a big growth year, just as the last couple have been. And we'll learn some more lessons. But right now, I'm not happy with that ruling. And it doesn't seem to be good for the game of pickleball. It's only good for the PPA and, their product and their monopoly that they're creating.
Like the USAP, I think a word for them, from me, is just stay true to yourself and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't try to compete with the UPA and the PPA, because I've seen where they're going at it, and they're they're always, bumping heads in certain things. And but I think the game, it's better when other people does not interfere and try to make new rules, stipulations, stuff like that. Just the love of the game, the purity of the game is what people love, and also the social aspect of the game is another question. Another thing about pickleball is the social aspect.
Mhm.
Of the game. That's why people love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
And
Scott.
that's how I met you, through pickleball. And I have like thousands of friends just through playing pickleball. You know what I mean? And those are my pickleball family, right? So
Absolutely.
and just closing out, it's I'm very blessed, and I was very fortunate to follow through with my instinct and gut that it was 2018 when I knew that pickleball was going to blow up, and invest heavily into the product. And I have a lot of great support from my team, my ambassadors, and my new guys that just came on board and everything else. I just want to say thank you to them. And they've been a great help. And I can't grow the brand by myself. I have a team
Mhm.
that's helping me, and that's how we've been successful for the past 4 years. And 2025 is going to be awesome.
That's sweet, man. Well, you guys are producing top quality products. I know you've got all different types of things on your website. Your paddles are phenomenal. I'm looking forward to playing with them. And I just really appreciate your time, Scott.
Oh, I
It's been
appreciate it.
super
It's been
fun,
a
man.
great no, thank you very much. I'm glad I ran into you, and you've been stellar. I told my sister about you, Pickle Pulse. I mean, he's like, yeah, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I
Mhm.
played with him, and yeah, so she was really cool. And so it's been pretty lucky to be where I'm at, and hopefully I will be around. We've been pretty successful, so just hope they don't keep putting all these stipulation and rules, and the rules got to stay. That's another thing I have a gripe on, is that the rule keep changing every year.
Yeah, they need to stay a little more, like a little more in
They
line.
should have a little clauses like, we don't implement any rules for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Keep the rules for at least 5 years, and then we can make alter and change if that were to come. It's just like every year it's like new rules, new change. I understand the technology is growing bigger and bigger every day. It's like every time I'm turning around, it's like new technology. Now you got titanium, you got Kevlar, you got before it was just simple. It's just a wooden plank.
yeah, that's right. You
You're
had
hitting the ball with. Now it's just like so many different. But that's part of the game. You got to grow with it. You got to, as Darwin said, adapt to your environment, you survive, and
Mhm.
that's what you got to do.
That's it. Well, where can everybody find your stuff? It's dinksports.com. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. DingSports.com. And we're also going to be in 2025. We're working on open up an Amazon store. I was against it in the beginning and stuff like that, but because we're a premium product. But
Mm-hmm.
I see that all the big dogs are on there, and
Mm-hmm.
they're successful. And you have and also we're coming out with the new Pro Grid 2.0, which is it's a little bit less than $100,
It's
and
gonna be
that
awesome.
caters towards entry level all the way up to advanced level
Mm-hmm.
players that can use the paddle. And we're going to be putting that out on Amazon. And you know new product, our bags, our hats, our overgrips has been outstanding. I wish you had the overgrip to test it out, but I will make sure I'll send you a couple packs there. It's one of the best on the market.
Okay. Well, I definitely look forward to it, man. I'm always looking for a good overgrip. I use
Yeah,
a lot of
and
them.
also, Brian, you can tell your captive audience they can use DingK 20 to DINGK 20 to
Mm-hmm.
get 20% off on all merchandises and products on DingSports.com.
Love it. You guys heard it here first. Thanks, Scott. You're the man,
All
dude.
right, thank you
Oh,
very much. Hey,
appreciate the time.
hopefully you come down here. By the way, are you coming to the APP Fort Lauderdale?
I am. I'll be at the fort. I'm going to be playing 5-0 40 plus with my
Nice.
boy Matt George, and I'll be playing singles as well in a much lower division because I'm slow and old.
You're not old. You're right there. I'm hitting 50 in senior pro, so I'm excited for that. So that's what you got to look forward to, is the senior pro.
Yes, that's right.
I was at 45, and all I can say, 49, senior pro. I'm eligible. So finally it's here. I registered with my teammates and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see the fort. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so big.
That venue is going to be sick. Yeah. And I'll be rolling with Steve Rose. So we'll have to grab dinner after one of the nights or something. That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I would love to play with you and stuff like that too. See if we can find time and get some practice in before the tournament.
Love it. I'll hit you up when I get down there.
All right, my man. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.
All right, cool. Now we're out.
All right, cool. That was great. That was really, really good. Really.
That was awesome, man. Well, I, again, appreciate your time. I hate to cut off so quickly, but I got to go rock and roll and hit the ground.
Dude, that was an hour straight talking. That was a straight hour. There were no pause in that there.
It is amazing how much I like talking about pickleball and how easy it can be.
Oh, it was so easy. I mean, you made it easy. You lead the question too, and you allow me to answer and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, though. Yeah, and thanks for throwing some stuff that I forgot to throw in, like my website and everything else. But thanks for the pitch, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, enjoy it, play with it. I think you're gonna get the feel of it, of the Hyper Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and also then I'll also make sure I'm gonna send like, you know, at least 5 packs of over grips for you over there. What colors you like? What colors you like?
All colors are fine. Pink,
all
white,
colors?
green. I'm good.
Cool. We got all that. So I'll make sure I'll send you a few packs, okay, bud?
Scott, I really look forward to seeing you in Florida, man.
All right, my man. Take care. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.